The sands of time hold secrets that some would rather keep hidden. Prepare to have your understanding of reality shattered as we unveil long-suppressed evidence of time travel. These shocking revelations, once buried deep within government archives, have finally come to light, exposing a truth that challenges the very fabric of our existence.
There's something very mysterious about this pillar in India, known as the Iron Pillar of Delhi. It seems impervious to rust, even after 1,600 years of being exposed to the elements. The pillar dates back to the Gupta period around 375 to 413 AD, and the fact that it doesn't rust is pretty impressive. Building something like this would have been challenging without advanced technology and precise chemical treatments. Standing about 23 feet tall and weighing over 6 tons, the pillar was first erected in Udayagiri and later moved to its current location. It bears an inscription in Sanskrit praising a king named Chandra, believed to be Chandragupta II. The pillar has been exposed to harsh weather for centuries, but it's still mostly rust-free. It turns out that the iron used in the pillar was made of mesowite, which is a compound of iron, oxygen, and hydrogen which helps protect the iron from rusting, but the method they would have used to achieve this is still a mystery and makes some people wonder if certain ancient civilizations had access to technology far beyond their or even our time.
If you were to Google when the first battery was invented, you would be told that it was invented in 1800 by Alessandro Volta and John Stringfellow. Great name, by the way. But that would be wrong, because in 1938, archaeologists discovered the first true battery, which was actually created around 2,000 years ago. The batteries, made with clay jars and iron rods capable of producing more than a volt of electricity, were found just outside of Baghdad, Iraq. 3 were discovered, and since their discovery, nothing of the like has ever been found again. The exact origin of the batteries remains unclear, but what is clear is that the society that made them was either incredibly advanced or had help from someone from the future, perhaps even Volta and Stringfellow, and if that's the case, the answer Google gives you would be in fact correct. It's possible. Anything's possible.
The Saqqara bird is a small wooden artifact that was found in an ancient Egyptian tomb near Saqqara. It's about 2,200 years old, and at first glance, it's a bird. But when you look a little closer, you might notice that it looks a lot like a model airplane. Unlike other bird statues from ancient Egypt, this one doesn't have legs, and its wings are shaped differently. It's a pretty unique design that just adds another layer of mystery to the history of ancient Egypt, which is already full of mysteries. Did ancient Egyptians know something about flying? Back in 1969, an Egyptian doctor suggested that the Saqqara bird might be an ancient model of some sort of flying machine. People have even made replicas of it to see if it could fly, and some of these models do glide pretty well when launched. Now, most archaeologists think the thing was just a toy, but I mean, what if they did know more than we give them credit for? Or what if someone far in the future managed to pay them a visit, and some ancient Egyptian sculptor based this small wooden piece off of a strange, unexplained object they saw gliding overhead one day?
If Antarctica was discovered in January of 1820, then tell me, why did it show up on a map created in 1513? The Piri Reis map, to be exact, created by Turkish admiral and cartographer Piri Reis. While the map doesn't outright say the word Antarctica, many people believe the landmass located at the bottom right corner to be representative of the continent, about 34 million years ago before it became covered in ice. This was confirmed by Captain Lorenzo W. Burroughs of the US Air Force, who said that the landmass in the Piri Reis map accurately depicted the coast of Antarctica that is now currently hidden under ice. This is strange for a few reasons. 1. How did Piri Reis know about Antarctica? And 2. If Antarctica froze 34 million years ago and the map was made in 1513, how did Piri Reis know about its formerly subtropical climate without the use of modern day technology? Is this guy a time traveler, and if so, did he travel backwards or forwards to learn this information?
Cosmic strings are theoretical one-dimensional threads that could exist in the fabric of space-time. Think of them as incredibly thin, incredibly long defects that might stretch across the universe. If these cosmic strings are real and they come close enough together, their powerful gravitational fields could potentially create a kind of warp in space-time. This warp might be just the right kind of distortion needed to build a time machine. In essence, if cosmic strings exist and their gravitational effects can be harnessed, they could theoretically allow us to bend or even twist time, opening up the possibility of traveling to different moments in history. It is definitely a mind-bending idea that combines the mysteries of space with the allure of time travel. What more could you want in a time travel theory? It's got it all. Tachyons are theoretical particles that, if they exist, would have a remarkable property. They travel faster than the speed of light. In the world of physics, this is a huge deal because, according to some theories, moving faster than light could open the door to time travel. If tachyons are real and can indeed zoom through space at these incredible speeds, they might allow us to not only travel forward into the future, but also move backward in time. This is because, in some speculative theories, exceeding the speed of light could let you slip through time's usual flow, letting you revisit or even alter past events. So, they could be the key to unlocking the possibility of time travel, though they remain firmly in the realm of theory and speculation for now. Next, we are talking about the grandfather paradox. It is a classic puzzle in time travel discussions. So, picture this. Someone travels back in time and stops their grandfather from meeting their grandmother. If this happens, it means the time traveler's parents would never have been born, and by extension, the time traveler themselves wouldn't exist. This creates a logical loop, because if the time traveler was never born, then they could never go back in time to make that change in the first place. Essentially, it shows how messing with past events could lead to impossible contradictions and problems, making us question whether changing history is even feasible without causing major headaches for the timeline. And this brings us perfectly into our next theory, the many worlds interpretation. This theory, tied to quantum mechanics, proposes that every possible outcome of a quantum event actually happens, each in its own separate universe. Imagine it like this. Every decision or event that could go one way or another creates a new parallel universe where that specific outcome occurs. When it comes to time travel, this idea suggests that if you were to travel back in time, you wouldn't necessarily change the history of your own universe. Instead, you would enter a new alternate timeline where things play out differently. So rather than rewriting your own past, you'd be stepping into a parallel universe where history just took a different path, making it a fascinating way to think about how time travel might work without creating paradoxes. Richard Feynman, a renowned physicist, introduced an imaginative concept known as the checkerboard model to help us grasp how particles might interact with time. In this model, time is visualized as a two-dimensional checkerboard where particles move across the squares in various directions. Picture it like a chessboard where particles can travel forward, backward, or even sideways, creating a dynamic and flexible view of how they might experience time. This checkerboard framework offers a way to understand how particles might move through time in ways that could be similar to time travel, providing a fresh perspective on how the fabric of space-time might actually work. Feynman's model isn't just a theoretical curiosity, it actually helps scientists think about the possibilities of particles moving in unconventional ways and exploring the quirks of time.
The London hammer is one of the most famous out-of-place artifacts. It was found in 1936 in London, Texas, by a couple named Max and Emma Hahn while they were out exploring. They found the hammer embedded in a rock formation that was estimated to be around 100 million years old. The hammer itself looks surprisingly modern though. It has a wooden handle and a metal head, which, when examined, seems to be made of iron and steel, materials that weren't supposed to be around during the time the rock was formed. The rock surrounding the hammer was found to be from the Cretaceous period, a time when dinosaurs roamed the earth, long before humans or even advanced tools like this hammer were believed to have existed. There are some pretty wacky but fun ideas about the hammer, one being that it could be a remnant from a future civilization that somehow ended up in the past and accidentally left the tool behind.
Nuclear energy was invented on December 2nd of 1942, but the first nuclear reactor existed almost 2 billion years ago. How does that work? Well, I'll tell you. In 1972, a French factory was importing uranium ore from Africa's Gabon Republic when they stumbled across something fascinating. A 2-billion-year-old large-scale nuclear reactor that was likely in operation for some 500,000 years. Now, while some scientists claim the reactor to be nothing more than a fluke natural phenomenon, others, such as Dr. Glenn T. Seaborg, former head of the United States Atomic Energy Commission and Nobel Prize winner for his work in synthesis of heavy elements, believes the reactor to be man-made because, in his words, in order for uranium to burn in a reactor, very precise conditions are needed. Conditions that he does not believe just somehow happened in nature. The question here is, did someone go back in time to create this, or did someone go forward in time to spread the good word about the endless possibilities of nuclear energy? You tell me.
Back in 2012, a strange cylindrical object was discovered by residents of a small rural village in Siberia. The object weighed hundreds of pounds and was unlike anything anyone had seen before. Village residents hooked it up to a trailer and hauled it back to town, where they alerted the authorities, who came and picked it up to be studied. Now, the villagers, as well as folks on the internet, started speculating as to what this mysterious object was and where it came from. Of course, space was being thrown around in almost every conversation. Was this part of some secretive spacefaring government technology? Was it alien in origin? Well, an official at the Russian Space Agency soon made a statement that the object had no relation to space technology of any kind, but if it wasn't part of a spacecraft of some kind, then what was it, and how did it end up there? Nobody knows.
For a while, it was widely accepted that the first spark plug was invented in 1839, but all that changed in 1961 when 3 individuals stumbled across a much older version of a spark plug encased in a geode in California while out searching for items to sell in their gem and gift shop. After the discovery, a geologist dated the device to be at least 500,000 years old, if not older. While some people believe the device to have been a modern spark plug encased in a quick-forming concretion rather than a geode, there is not enough concrete evidence to support that theory. And so many people continue to believe the device to be an incredibly advanced relic from ancient times. Or perhaps it is a modern-day spark plug that was placed in ancient times as some kind of Easter egg for the future. Either one is pretty cool.
Take a look at this formation here. It certainly seems to be ancient, and it is. It's also incredibly mysterious. It's called the Porobajin, and ever since it was discovered, archaeologists and historians have been trying to figure out who built it and why. Situated in a lake in southern Siberia, the ancient structure, which was discovered in 1891, seems to have been built around 1300 years ago. It's one of Russia's strangest historical landmarks. There's just no concrete information about its purpose, its builders, and the rationale behind choosing such an isolated location to build it. It's in an area well away from any settlements or trade routes. It's also lacking a heating system, which is strange because of the harsh winters at its high altitude location. The layout of the ruins seems to have a bit of a Chinese influence though, almost like city palaces from the Tang dynasty. The neat grid arrangement of smaller houses around the inner courtyard is similar to many Tang Buddhist monasteries, but there's still no definitive evidence as to what this place was. Was it a monastery, a palace complex, a fusion of both, or could it possibly have been built by beings not from this world?
You know what suggests that time travel exists? Ancient texts estimated to have been written in 400 BC talking about how time travel exists. Specifically, Mahabharata, an ancient piece of Hindu text that alludes to the phenomenon. On numerous occasions, the 1,500-page script mentions incidents in which individuals traveled through time and experienced something called time dilation, a physical phenomenon in which time moves differently for different observers in the same inertial frame. Time travel has also been mentioned in the Quran, written around 250 CE, the Odysseus II, a Christian text written around 420 CE, the Urashima Taro, a Japanese text written in the 18th century, and many other pieces of ancient literature. The concept is far from new, but if time travel is real, then time is an illusion, and new is just a word that, in the scheme of things, doesn't really matter.
Time travel is such a wild concept because of the fact that it is filled to the brim with paradoxes that would certainly need answers. One of the most confounding is the Bootstrap paradox. This is a very curious time travel conundrum that deals with objects or information being sent back in time and ending up as the source of their own existence. For example, picture traveling back to Shakespeare's time and handing him a copy of his own plays. If Shakespeare then publishes these plays as his own work, it creates a loop. The plays have no original author because they just came from the future. This raises quite a puzzling question about the origin of the works. Did they come from Shakespeare, or were they simply a product of time travel? It is definitely a paradox that challenges our understanding of cause and effect, showing how time travel could lead to some absolutely mind-boggling scenarios where the source of something becomes a bit of a mystery. Wormholes are fascinating theoretical tunnels that could serve as shortcuts through the fabric of space-time. Imagine a wormhole as a kind of cosmic bridge connecting two distant points in the universe, bypassing the usual longer route through space. If these wormholes really exist and we could find a way to stabilize them, they might not only help us travel across vast distances in space, but could also allow us to journey between different moments in time. In theory, a wormhole could be like having a time machine that lets you hop between eras or even visit far-off places in the blink of an eye. The Novikov self-consistency principle is an intriguing idea that addresses the potential headaches of time travel paradoxes. It suggests that if you were to travel back in time and try to change something, the events you create must fit seamlessly into the existing timeline. In other words, any actions you take in the past would be part of the history that already happened, preventing any paradoxes from arising. This principle implies that the timeline is self-correcting. If you attempt to alter something significant, it will somehow adjust to ensure that everything remains consistent with the history that has already unfolded. So instead of causing contradictions, your time travel adventures would simply align with the timeline that's already set in motion. Pretty convenient, I guess. Black holes. Oh my goodness. Probably the most terrifying aspect of outer space. Black holes are incredibly fascinating cosmic objects with such intense gravitational fields that they can actually warp the flow of time. As you get closer to a black hole, time slows down dramatically compared to places far from it. If you've seen Interstellar, you can definitely understand how heartbreaking this concept can be. Imagine you're near a black hole and then you return to a region with normal gravity. You discover that while only a short time has passed for you, a lot more time has flown by for everyone else. This effect, known as gravitational time dilation, effectively means you've traveled into the future. It is a crazy consequence of Einstein's theory of relativity and shows how extreme gravity can stretch and distort our experience of time. Speaking of the theory of relativity, what is that? Einstein's theory of relativity is a groundbreaking concept that changes how we think about time and space. According to Einstein, time isn't a fixed constant. It can stretch and shrink depending on how fast you're moving and how strong the gravity around you is. Specifically, as you travel closer to the speed of light, time actually slows down compared to someone who's staying put. This phenomenon, known as time dilation, means that if you could travel at such high speeds, you could experience time differently from someone else who isn't moving quite as fast. In other words, while you might age just a little, everyone else would experience the passage of time much more quickly, hinting that time travel into the future, at least theoretically, might be possible.
Starting off this countdown, we have the photographic evidence. A couple of years ago, a man named Edward came forward claiming that he was a time traveler from the year 5000. He even came with evidence. Now, he used a fake name and had his identity hidden so people weren't gonna come after him. So according to Edward, he claims he was part of a top secret experiment that took place in 2004. During the test, he was successfully transported in time. He was taken to LA 5,000 years in the future. And it's not looking too good.
He said, and I quote, "I was standing on a huge wooden platform, and after I realized it was the same city, Los Angeles, but underwater." This man's claims were backed up with evidence. He took a photo of LA underwater. I don't even know what to think. Either he's good at Photoshop or he's actually a time traveler. I just thought that the water would be way more polluted than that. Like, that's far too clear, you know? It's a little sketchy. In our 9th spot, we have Vladimir Putin. It turns out that the president of Russia is a time traveler. Take a look at these photos. First, we got a Russian soldier from 1920, and he looks identical to Putin. Then we have another Russian soldier from 1941, and he also looks like a young Putin, who is pictured on the far right. Too eerie. Either he's immortal, or he's a time traveler. Moving on, at number 8, we have the TikTok time traveler. Now, I talked about this case briefly before, and I'm throwing it on today's list because it's the most recent case of time travel. Basically, a guy named Javier claims that he is a time traveler who is now stuck in the year 2027. The scariest part is that the entire human race is wiped out by then. On his TikTok page, he posts videos of him wandering the streets of Spain alone. He has gone to stadiums, airports, police stations, hospitals, restaurants, and malls. No one is there except himself, which is crazy because normally those places would be packed with people, but they aren't. So here's the thing. Either he's a time traveler and was sent to the future to warn us, or he's somehow faking it. But a number of people have analyzed his videos. Some people believe he edits everyone out of the video. Sure, it's possible to edit objects and people out of videos, but it's harder to do with multiple people in the shot, in which there would be, and it's harder if the people are moving around, which they would be. Another theory is that these videos were pre-filmed, that they were filmed during the pandemic when they were under lockdown and had a curfew. But in order to prove that that's not the case, he gets his followers to tell him where he should go next. He then will go to that specific place and prove no one is there. The freakiest part is he has gone to hospitals. If this was filmed during the pandemic, the hospitals would be filled with people. But when he walks around, no one, and I mean no one, is there. Maybe this is real and we should take him seriously. Who knows, but believe what you want to believe. In our 7th spot, we have the 800-year-old cell phone. In 2016, a group of researchers unearthed an ancient-looking cell phone in Austria. The phone is covered in cuneiform writing, which dates back to thousands of years ago, making this object thousands of years old. But obviously, we didn't have phones back then, when this clearly looks like it was modeled after a Nokia phone. Alien hunters believe that it comes from an advanced civilization that has come to Earth. Others believe that this object is proof of time travel. What's even more weird is that I can't seem to find much about this phone online, so it looks like no one has debunked it yet. Maybe it's real then, who knows? In our 6th spot, we have the man named Noah. Back in 2018, a man came forward claiming that he was a time traveler from the year 2030. He called himself Noah. Obviously, it's not his real name, and he sat down for a television interview to share with the world what life is like in 2030. But of course, his face and voice were distorted to protect his identity. He said that he can't let anyone know who he really is. Basically, he said that he will be killed for speaking the truth about time travel. He goes on to prove that he's a real time traveler by getting an x-ray of his hand. Upon doing so, it's revealed that there's a weird device implemented in his wrist. That's what Noah says is what helps him when he time travels. Not only that, but he underwent a lie detector test and he passed it, showing that his claims were real. Now, what did he say is in store for the future? Well, since this occurred in 2018, he said that in 2019 it will be filled with more UFO sightings, which, yes, that was true. He also claims that in 2028, that's when aliens will come down to Earth, and that's also the year that the government will reveal that time travel is real. That's pretty intense if you ask me.
Number 10. John Travolta. John Travolta is an American actor. He came to public attention during the 1970s, appearing on the television sitcom Welcome Back, Kotter, and starring in the box office success Carrie. He has many accolades as he's won a Golden Globe Award and been nominated for 6, been nominated for 2 Academy Awards, and has a Primetime Emmy Award. He's best known for his roles in Grease, Pulp Fiction, and Saturday Night Lights. This photo, dated over 150 years ago, surfaced at an online auction a few years ago with an asking price of around $50,000. Notice anything? It looks exactly like John. The seller, a woman identifying as Fallon, was surprised by the commotion it caused as potential buyers were surprised by its resemblance to John. Fallon said most people were curious or just thought the photo was fake or that I was weird. It's a really cool photograph, but I never thought it would cause this sort of hoopla funny. It truly does look like him though, you can't deny it. Number 9. Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage is an American actor and film producer who is the recipient of various accolades, including an Academy Award, a Screen Actors Guild Award, and a Golden Globe Award. He's best known for his films Ghost Rider, National Treasure, and Con Air. This photo of an unnamed Tennessee man taken during the Civil War looks exactly like Nicolas Cage. A lot. You can't tell me that's not Nicolas Cage. The seller, who has put the image at a starting price at $1 million, says the photo is 100% genuine and was taken of a man who lived in Bristol, Tennessee around the time of the Civil War. These two men look so much alike that the internet community was convinced that Nicolas may actually be an immortal vampire. He heard about this accusation and addressed the issue in a David Letterman interview saying, "Now look, I don't drink blood, and the last time I looked in the mirror I had a reflection, so I'm not going with his vampire theory." Now, I'm not sure if he's telling the truth though, I definitely think he's a vampire. Number 8. Alec Baldwin. Alec Baldwin is an American actor, comedian, and producer. He's best known for his roles in 30 Rock, Beetlejuice, and My Sister's Keeper. Alex looks very similar to the 13th President of the United States, Millard Fillmore. They also share many similarities as they were both born in New York to affluent, well-connected families. The difference between them? Oh, about 160 years. Millard was the 13th President of the United States, serving from 1850 to 1853, the last to be a member of the Whig Party while in the White House. A former member of U.S. House of Representatives from upstate New York, Millard was elected as the 12th Vice President in 1848 and succeeded to the presidency in July 1950 upon the death of U.S. President Zachary Taylor. Now, was Alec the president in past life? No one knows except for him. Number 7. Orlando Bloom. Orlando Bloom is an English actor. He made his breakthrough in the Lord of the Rings film series, The Fellowship of the Ring. He's best known for his roles in Carnival Row and the Pirates of the Caribbean films. He has a very strong resemblance to Nicolae Grigorescu, who was an influential 19th century Romanian painter. Nicolae was one of the founders of modern Romanian painting. He was born in 1838 and passed away in 1907. Between 1856 and 1857, he painted the Church of the Zamfira Monastery, Prahova County, and in 1861 the Church of the Agapia Monastery. Seems like in this life, Orlando wanted to be more in front of the camera and be the art instead of creating it like he did in the 1800s, but you can't deny that these two look extremely similar. Number 6. Jennifer Lawrence. Jennifer Lawrence is an actress who was the world's highest paid actress in 2015 and 2016. She appeared in Time's 100 Most Influential People in the World list in 2013 and on the Forbes Celebrity 100 list from 2013 to 2016. She has many accolades including an Oscar, 3 Golden Globe Awards, 6 People's Choice Awards, and 7 MTV Movie Awards. She's best known for her roles in Silver Linings Playbook, Don't Look Up, and the Hunger Games films. Now, Jennifer looks very similar to famous Egyptian actress Zubaida Tharwar. Zubaida was an Egyptian film, stage, and television actress who was known for the most beautiful eyes in classic Egyptian cinema. She was known for movies such as The Guilty, The Other Man, and There Is a Man in Our House. With both of them being famous actresses, I can totally see them being the same person.
We're now at our 5th and halfway mark with the Antikythera mechanism. In 1900s, a team of divers exploring the Greek island of Antikythera made a fascinating discovery. They came across an ancient shipwreck. The ship was filled with statues, jewelry, coins, pottery, you name it. They were all like, booyah, jackpot. As they continued searching the ship though, they came across this weird object. It was a blob of corroded bronze and wood. 2 years later, an archaeologist decided to examine this and discovered it was an astronomical clock. But the items came from ancient Greece and clocks hadn't been invented then. This item was in similar size to a mantle clock, and the bits of wood fragments on it suggest that it was probably in a wooden case. They also believe the case would have had like a circular face or rotating hands. There was also a knob on the side. and the mechanism could rotate forwards and backwards. Needless to say, it was a fairly complex object for that time period, so some believe that it was left by a time traveler. If not, then what could this device be, and how come it was so advanced for its time? In our fourth spot, we have the year 3207.
Quote was time machine. They took me to a room filled by many kinds of displays, gadgets, wires that I had never ever seen. The head of project came to me and told all about that mystical project.
A couple of years ago, an unidentified Greek man came forward saying that he traveled in time to the year 3207. He claims that he was shot forward in time and spent 2 days in the year 3207 as part of a top secret military program. He was paid $100,000 to do so.
That after some minutes they would send me to the year 3207. As I understood, I was kinda laboratory mouse for them, But the money and career that I was suggested were worth it for it.
He claims that in the future, the buildings were massive, triple the size that they are today. He also says that there were flying cars and that there was strange colored grass. It wasn't green, but a deep purple. And lastly, he said that aliens, humans, big animals, and robots were all walking together down the street. That's pretty interesting, not gonna lie. Don't know if I believe that guy, but some people do. I mean, he also showed photographic evidence, but claims that the photos got a bit distorted while going through the whole time travel process. To me, they kind of just look like bad Photoshop, but you decide. In our third spot, we have Paul Dienach. Now, if you haven't heard about this case before, then you're in for a shock. In 1921, a man named Paul Dienach, a Swiss-Australian teacher, slipped into a coma for about a year. For that year, he claimed that he went to the year 3096, where he switched consciousness with a man named Andrew Northman. One minute he was in a coma, next he's inside Andrew's body speaking a foreign language. For that year, he was living as Andrew. Paul was so scared to tell anyone of this experience, so he just wrote it in his diary and kept it a secret. However, just before he passed away, he gave his diary to one of his students to translate, and that's when it was revealed that he had somehow time traveled to the future. It's pretty insane. Could he be telling the truth, or was it all just a coma dream? In our second spot, we have the time-traveling murderer. Okay, this next story is going to leave you baffled. Back in 2014, a woman was found dead in London. It was clearly a murder. Thankfully, her attacker's DNA was found all over her body. Upon doing a forensics test, they got a match. But here's the thing, the supposed attacker was found dead a full 3 weeks before her victim. So how is it possible for her to kill someone when she had already died? So people think that the killer was a time traveler, and that days before her own death, she went a couple weeks into the future to kill this woman. I don't even know. It's just an insane case, if you ask me. And in our number one spot today, we had the London Hammer. Back in 1936 Texas, a man named Max Hahn and his wife were out for a walk when they stumbled upon this odd rock with a tool sticking directly out of it. This is what is now called the London Hammer, or the London Artifact. It was discovered to be part of a hammer that was trapped inside a rock that dates back to being over 400 million years old. Clearly back then they did not have hammers, so how the heck did a modern day human-made tool date back to a time where humans weren't even around? Theory goes that it was dropped by a time traveler, but I want to know who would go that far back in time. Let me know in the comments below, would you rather travel to the past or the future?
Number 5. Jimmy Fallon. Jimmy Fallon is an American comedian, television host, actor, writer, and singer. He's best known for his work in television, and his breakthrough came during his tenure as a cast member on the NBC sketch comedy series Saturday Night Live from 1998 to 2004. He then became the host of the late night talk show Late Night with Jimmy Fallon from 2009 to 2014, and became the anchor of The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon following his departure from late night. In addition to his television work, he has released 2 comedy albums and 7 books, mainly aimed at children. Now, Jimmy looks exactly like Mahir Chiran. If I were to put a mustache on Jimmy, they would be the exact same. Mahir was a Turkish Marxist-Leninist revolutionary who was born in 1946 and was executed in 1972. Jimmy Fallon was born in 1974, with a 2-year difference between the two. Think about it. Could it be a coincidence? Maybe, but it could also be reincarnation. Couldn't it? I think so. Number 4. Peter Dinklage. Peter Dinklage is an American film, television, and stage actor. He received international recognition for being on the HBO television series Game of Thrones. Due to this, he won the Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Drama Series, a record of 4 times. He also received a Golden Globe Award in 2011 and a Screen Actors Guild Award in 2020 for the role. Now, Peter has a common form of dwarfism known as achondroplasia, as he stands 4 feet and 5 inches tall, and due to this he has used his celebrity status to raise social awareness. Now it seems like Peter looks exactly like this man from this painting, the portrait of Sebastian de Mora. The painting is by Diego Velázquez of Sebastian de Mora, a court dwarf and jester at the court of Philip IV of Spain. It was painted around 1644 and is now in the Prado in Madrid. They look exactly the same, but the fact that they both have dwarfism is crazy to me. They are truly the same person. Number 3. Conan O'Brien. Conan O'Brien is an American television host, comedian, writer, and producer. He's best known for having hosted late night talk shows for almost 28 years, beginning with The Late Night Show with Conan O'Brien and The Tonight Show with Conan O'Brien on the NBC television network and Conan on the cable channel TBS. Now before his hosting career, he was a writer for the NBC sketch comedy series Saturday Night Live from 1988 to 1991 and the Fox animated sitcom The Simpsons from 1991 to 1993. He has also been the host of the podcast series Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend since 2018 and is expected to launch a new show on HBO Max. He looks exactly like Marshall H. Twitchell in this photo. Marshall was born in 1840 and passed away in 1905. He was a teacher, officer in the Union Army, and a businessman. Originally from Vermont, he became a prominent political figure in Louisiana's post-war Reconstruction, including 2 terms as a Republican member of the Louisiana State Senate. After the war, he returned north, served as a diplomat in Canada, and wrote a memoir. I truly think this was Conan in a past life. Number 2. Mark Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg is an American businessman and internet entrepreneur. He's known for co-founding the social media website Facebook and its parent company Meta Platforms, which he is the chairman, chief executive officer, and controlling shareholder. In 2007, at age 23, he became the world's youngest self-made billionaire. He has used his funds to organize multiple charities, including the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative. Since 2008, Time magazine has named Mark among the 100 most influential people in the world as a part of its Person of the Year award. In the Forbes 400 list of wealthiest Americans in 2022, he was ranked 11th with a wealth of $57.7 billion. As of February 2023, his net worth was $68.6 billion according to the Forbes Real-Time Billionaires, making him the 16th richest person in the world. Now, with all of this money, is it possible that he could time travel? Yes, 100%. And he looks exactly like Philip IV, also called the Planet King. He was the King of Spain from 1621 to his death in 1640, and he is remembered for his patronage of the arts. Why not go from being a king of a country to a king of the internet and metaverse? This seems like something Mark would do. And coming in at number 1 is Adam Schulman and Anne Hathaway. Adam Schulman is an actor and producer known for Seesaw Monster, The Shower, and Song 1. He married his wife Anne Hathaway in 2012. Now Anne is an American actress and is the recipient of various accolades, including an Academy Award, a Golden Globe Award, and a Primetime Emmy Award. She was among the world's highest paid actresses in 2015 and is best known for her roles in The Devil Wears Prada, Les Miserables, and The Princess Diaries. Now, does the name Anne Hathaway sound familiar? Everyone's heard of William Shakespeare. What you probably don't know about the famous English playwright is that he had a wife named Anne Hathaway. But that's not the scary part. Adam looks exactly like William Shakespeare. Perhaps him and his wife came back for some unfinished business and to provide the world with more art. Everyone on the internet believes this, as people say they came back for each other, eternal lovers, and history hath a way of repeating itself. Another wrote, immortals must hate all of us for exposing them online, lol, and one fan claimed Shakespeare made a deal with his wife, I get to be famous in this life and you get to be famous in the next. I truly believe this, the resemblance is uncanny.
The Dresden Codex is one of the oldest and most important surviving Maya manuscripts, dating back to the 11th or 12th century. It's full of astronomical knowledge. There are all these detailed charts of the cycles of the moon, planets, mainly Venus, and it's all very precise. As most of us know, the Maya were able to predict solar and lunar eclipses with pretty incredible accuracy for the time. And one of the most impressive parts of the Dresden Codex is its Venus tables. These tables detail the cycles of Venus with such accuracy that it led to some wondering, well, how? Was it something they were able to figure out completely on their own? Or did they have some form of advanced knowledge or technology? There's always been pretty wild theories about the ancient Maya, mainly that they might have had access to information from extraterrestrials, which is something I'm sure we'd all love to believe, just a fun idea. The Codex also features more mythological elements too. Now, most experts believe that the Maya were just super smart. They carefully observed the night sky and used all these complicated mathematics, which is pretty amazing as is, but there's always that part of my brain that entertains some of the more fantastical ideas.
The Hindu epic Mahabharata, which is speculated to have been written sometime around 400 BCE, contains a story that follows a king, his daughter, and their search for her perfect suitor. The king, King Kakudmi, was a powerful leader who ruled over a prosperous and advanced mythical kingdom located under the sea. To his dismay, he could find no one he believed to be worthy of his daughter Revati's hand in marriage, and so the two set out to seek the advice of the Hindu god Brahma. When they arrived, Brahma was listening to a musical performance, so the king and his daughter waited patiently for the music to end before asking Brahma who should marry the king's daughter. The king told the god that he had searched for many princes and had seen a good many too, but none were to his liking. The god laughed and informed the king, "O king, the princes that you thought would become the groom of your daughter all died. Their sons and grandsons and their friends have all passed away." Brahma then goes on to explain how time moves differently on different planes of existence, and that the time the pair had spent waiting for the music to end, although it felt like mere minutes to them, was actually 27 Chaturyungas, one Chaturyunga being 4.32 million solar years. And according to the story, Brahma was right. When the pair returned to Earth, everything they once knew was gone, as though they had jumped forward through time unknowingly and completely by mistake. While this might sound like nothing more than a story, which to be fair it likely is, the theory of time running differently on different planes of existence actually ties in greatly with Albert Einstein's theory of relativity. If you're not familiar with Einstein's theory, it states that the same law of physics hold true in all inertial reference frames, and that the speed of light is the same for all observers, even those moving with respect to one another. Simply put, it is the idea that the speed at which time happens is liable to change, although it will always feel the same to the respective observer existing in the respective plane. Furthermore, Einstein believed that space, time, and motion all collapse into a fourth dimension in which they all act on each other, and that gravity plays a major role in the passage of time, with a surplus of gravity causing time to go slower, and an absence of gravity causing time to accelerate. The idea of alternate planes existing adjacent to or inside of our own, with their own laws of time completely separate from our own, existing some 2,500 years ago, is pretty crazy. I mean, not only does it mention relative time travel, but based on the story's similarities to Einstein's theory, it might just prove it as well.
And we're starting off our list with a traveler who has some pretty bad news for animal lovers out there. John, a self-proclaimed time traveler, claims to have actually come from the year 4000 and traveled back in time with some interesting details about the future. Apparently, in the year 4000, technology will have advanced to such an extent that artificial intelligence dominates most of the world. He describes a world where AI merges with daily human activity, leading to a new era where biological and artificial entities coexist almost seamlessly. Seems like this is going to happen way sooner than the year 4000 though. One of the more specific claims John makes is about the way corporations will evolve in the future. He states that all companies will be owned by a single mega corporation that uses AI to manage its operations. This corporation supposedly designs, builds, and controls robots that perform nearly all types of jobs, pushing humans out of the workforce. According to John, the result is a society where human labor is no longer necessary and robots handle most tasks. John also notes that these advancements in AI and robotics lead to changes in the environment and the social structure of society. He also states that pets like cats and dogs won't be a thing anymore, and that all birds were destroyed in order to prevent them from colliding with flying cars. Aren't there a lot more things we could collide with, like driving normal cars, than like up in the sky? Why don't we destroy everything in our path, already? I don't know. That's an odd one. Next up, we have a man named William Taylor, who has some pretty wild things to say about the future, and interesting side note, he also passed a lie detector test, apparently. Now, I know lie detector tests aren't always foolproof, but not many people who claim to have traveled to the future have gone through any kind of test like that. So if that is true about the test, I don't know, that's kind of interesting. In 2018, a man named William Taylor claimed to have been part of a British intelligence project in which he traveled all the way to the year 8973. And he said that things were, or will be, actually pretty good in the distant future, so good in fact that he didn't even want to leave and come back to this time. Now, the only thing is that humans won't exist anymore, not the way we do currently anyway. Instead, a species of human-robot hybrids will populate the Earth, but no disease or crime will plague it, and these beings experience eternal life. Taylor also revealed some other intriguing information, like how time travel has actually been used by world governments since 1981. The technology was apparently reverse engineered from alien spacecrafts. A TikTok channel called Real TikTok Time Traveler started posting some pretty outlandish videos in 2022, mainly because this anonymous user claimed to be a time traveler. Is a channel the correct term when it comes to TikTok, by the way? Page? Like, do you say just like user? I'm very out of touch. I don't know where I am. Help me. But they've posted tons of videos making all kinds of claims about what the future holds. Most of it pretty dark, because that's what people just love gobbling up. They claim to be from the year 2236 and mostly post about events that will be playing out over the next 10 years. Some of their standouts include, in 2025, scientists discovering signs of life on 2 different planets that are proven to be more advanced than humans, and a meteor coming down to Earth in 2034 that will wipe out half of America. So look forward to that. Nostradamus, born in 1503, is best known for his book Les Prophéties, which is packed with all these mysterious predictions about the future. The book is made up of short, cryptic verses called quatrains, some of which seem eerily accurate to events that would end up unfolding long after the book was written. For example, some people think his writings predicted events like the French Revolution, the rise of Napoleon, even the September 11th attacks. Now, some of his writing is very cryptic and very open to interpretation, for sure, but there are others that do seem pretty uncanny, especially when you look back with the benefit of hindsight. And Nostradamus wasn't just some wacky guy rambling on a street corner. He was a well-read scholar. He was very smart, but some people even think he might have had special insight into the future, some sort of hidden knowledge, like that he maybe had access to time travel. Again, fun to think about. The Rohonc Codex is a very odd manuscript that's been confusing scholars ever since it was first discovered in Hungary in the early 19th century. No one has been able to decipher its text or fully understand what it's trying to get across. It uses a script that doesn't match any known language, ancient or modern. It's like a code or cipher that no one has managed to crack, but there have been attempts. The illustrations in the manuscript are just as strange, showing scenes that seem to mix religious, mythological, and fantastical elements. Some of the drawings depict intricate but unfamiliar symbols, as well as scenes of what appear to be your more standard religious ceremonies. There are also images that kind of look like stuff found in other ancient cultures, almost like it's showing this world where all these different cultures were coexisting. Is the book a hoax, an actual piece of some sort of forgotten civilization, or something else entirely?
The Piri Reis map contains what cartographers believe to be a depiction of ancient subtropical Antarctica. Here's the thing, the Piri Reis map was created back in 1513, and Antarctica wasn't discovered until January of 1820. Furthermore, by the time the Piri Reis map was created, Antarctica was already completely frozen. The map was created by a Turkish admiral and cartographer named Piri Reis, and although Antarctica isn't outright labeled on the map, many modern-day cartographers believe that the landmass located at the bottom right corner of the map is representative of the continent and how it would have appeared more than 34 million years ago before becoming a frozen wasteland. So the question here is, did Piri Reis travel back in time to witness the rainforest-like geography of Antarctica? And if so, how did he know where to look? Or perhaps more likely, did he travel forward in time to learn this all from modern-day cartographers and geologists? Unfortunately, at the moment, we only have a small fraction of the ancient relic that is the Piri Reis map, but hopefully one day we will be able to locate the missing pieces, which might help paint a clearer picture on the subject. However, it's also possible we never find them and it remains a mystery forever.
The Alexander romance is a collection of tales and legends about Alexander the Great that have been told and retold many, many times. There are tons of versions of these stories dating back to the Middle Ages. The stories are kind of a mix of history with myth, creating this very dramatic version of Alexander's life. There's one tale accompanied by illustrations that people often look at and go, wait, is that what I think it is? That looks like a submarine. In the story, Alexander journeys to the edge of the world, where he encounters strange and fantastical creatures like a giant crab. He ends up acquiring a vessel to travel underwater to collect pearls. Again, there are many versions, but in one, he asks for a mighty barrel of white glass, beautiful as no one had ever seen before, which he uses to travel under the water. The illustrations from the time look almost like something you could expect to see in a science fiction story, rather than a medieval piece of mythology. So it's certainly interesting, but did Alexander, as great as he was, ever actually set foot in an ancient submarine and dive underwater? Probably not. This is one of the more embellished or straight up fictional stories, but could it have been inspired by something people at the time had seen that they just didn't fully understand?
The ancient Indian text Ramayana described the gods getting around in flying chariots known as Rothans, but of course flying gods are really nothing new, so let's talk about another aspect of the ancient text, the Pushpaka Vimana, an aerial vehicle described as a large, superb aerial chariot that could fly at great speeds and carry a large number of passengers inside of it. Starting to sound familiar? There are a number of references to flying machines throughout the Ramayana epic that outline one, their aerial agility. Vimanas are said to be capable of riding into the sky vertically, horizontally, and diagonally, which signifies precision propulsion control, and in some stories they are even said to have visited space. 2, their speed, which allowed them to cover extensive areas within hours. 3, their materials. They were said to be made of metals and alloys. 4, their weaponry. Some of these flying machines were described as being armed with a variety of powerful weapons, which many people believe is an implication of military use. And 5, their energy sources, which include solar power and mercury propulsion. Mercury, which was one time strongly considered for use in rocket fuel, until safer options were discovered, that is. The similarity between the tales told in the Ramayana and aerial and aerospace engineering are pretty uncanny if you ask me. Maybe it's because the people in charge of writing the text, which dates back to between the 7th and 15th century BCE, knew what was coming in the future, and they wanted to be some of the first ones to document the inventions.
The Voynich manuscript is one of the biggest mysteries in the world of really old books. It's a handwritten piece from the early 15th century, but its language and even most of the illustrations inside make absolutely no sense, at least from what historians and archaeologists can tell. It's filled with weird symbols and drawings that no one can understand or translate. It's like the writer just invented an entirely new alphabet. On top of that, the book is full of all these weird illustrations. There are drawings of plants that don't exist, odd diagrams, and bizarre figures. Some of the images are so weird that they look like they're from another world. People have tried everything to figure out what this manuscript really means. Cryptographers, linguists, even computer experts have attempted to explain it, and there are some very plausible explanations, but no definitive ones. There's even a theory that the manuscript might have been a 15th century prank or piece of offbeat comedy intentionally written to confuse people. Others think it could actually be a lost language or code, but what if, just what if, the Voynich manuscript actually contains super advanced knowledge from the distant future, which was shared to the mystery author by a time traveler? That's probably the most likely explanation. I've solved it.
Homer's Iliad, which was written around the 8th century BCE, doesn't predict robots or AI in the modern sense. However, there are some intriguing elements that can be interpreted as early interpretations of artificial beings and intelligent mechanisms. One example of this is the myth of Hephaestus, the god of fire and craftsmanship who created automata, self-operating mechanical beings. Hephaestus fashioned mechanical servants out of gold, designed to assist him in his workshop. These golden beings could move and perform tasks on their own, kind of like the super creepy AI robots we see today. One servant in particular, created by Hephaestus, was Talos, a mechanical device cast in bronze designed to act and think like a human being. Talos was said to be the protector of the island of Crete, able to move around the island and attack intruders. In the end, he was defeated, but only after his opponent removed the nail from his heel that was keeping his life force inside of him. Or in other words, they hit the kill switch. Again, sound familiar?
You know, Alaric goes by the handle Radiant Time Traveler on TikTok and has shared some pretty grave warnings about the future. He claims to be from the year 2671, and in his latest video, he lets the fine people of the internet know about some of the notable stuff that's going to go down in the remainder of 2024. Keep May 15th marked down in your calendar because an alien race is going to show up on Earth and transport 10,000 people to another planet. But aliens coming to Earth isn't going to catch our attention for long though, because May 27th marks the beginning of the next American Civil War, which will then lead to the outbreak of World War III. But don't be too worried about your hands or feet being blown off in the war, because less than a month after the fighting kicks off, a new fruit will be discovered that helps regrow lost limbs. Also in June, the very first human-chimp hybrid will be created, and June 19th also sees a new type of storm form called a mind storm, which causes people to lose their minds and go on violent rampages. You know, as if World War III isn't enough already. Now we have a 28 days later situation on our hands. But the best part of it all, summer, it's really gonna end with a bang. When real-life dragons are discovered in the Rocky Mountains. They fly, they breathe fire, and they even speak English. Yes, specifically English. Sorry to everyone else in the world. You'll just have to watch these dragons fly around while we chat with them. Next on the list we have Darkness Time Traveler. Now, our boy Darkness has a pretty ominous bio on his TikTok channel / page / whatever you call it, reading, "Darkness is coming. The Shadow Network is almost here," from the year 2858. The Shadow Network, Jankies. I'm guessing that's not just a TV station that shows clips of shadows 24/7. In Darkness's latest video, they claim that the solar eclipse that just went down last week was actually a smokescreen for a bunch of alien beings to fly down to Earth on meteors, obscured from our view because of the eclipse. Because apparently we wouldn't be able to see meteors flying down the Earth because it's a little bit darker out. These alien beings are known by many other alien species though as the Planet Enders, or Endids. They spell it two different ways in the video. Gonna guess they wrote the text in haste though to make sure we all got this information in time. People from 2858 can make spelling mistakes too. Anyway, the Planet Endids have invaded a plethora of planets across the galaxy, and aside from their warmongering, violent ways, they've also brought a disease with them to Earth, the same disease that wiped out the alien beings who apparently once lived on Mars. So these invaders have been among us for about a week now at the time of this recording, awaiting the perfect time to strike. Because you guys are kind of watching this in the future, at least compared to me, why don't you let me know down in the comments what's going on. Our journey through time continues with a mysterious man simply known as Edward. In 2018, a man calling himself Edward came out claiming to be a time traveler from the year 5000. He said he'd been part of a top secret government time travel mission in 2004, where he traveled to the year 5000. He gave an interview where he shared a photo of what he said was Los Angeles in the future, and according to him, the city will be submerged underwater due to massive flooding caused by climate change. To substantiate his claim, Edward provided a photograph which he said depicted the future state of LA. In the photo, he described seeing skyscrapers and other buildings submerged in water, with only the tops visible above the waterline. He also stated that in the future, the effects of global warming will cause sea levels to rise significantly, leading to widespread flooding in coastal cities around the world, including Los Angeles, and that the inhabitants of these cities will have to adapt to new living conditions, with the remaining population living on the water's surface. Next, we have the Greek military time travelers. In 2017, an anonymous man claimed that after serving in the Greek military for 6 years, he was invited in 2013 to participate in a top-secret time travel project. According to his account, this project saw him travel to the year 3207, a journey that lasted 2 days. From his perspective, about a month after his story came out, another anonymous man from Greece also said he was a student, when in 2008 he was reportedly approached by a professor who offered him the chance to be part of a time travel experiment. He accepted and claimed to have been sent to the year 10,000. The purpose of this experiment was said to be related to gaining knowledge about a future war between humans and artificial intelligence. Again, I think they sent him way too far into the future if it's a war between humans and artificial intelligence. 10,000? That's pretty far up there. Maybe there's something wrong with the machine. And also, I mean, according to some other time travelers we've discussed already, that's a war we won't be winning. They could have just asked them, saved the whole trip. Next up, we have Athos Salome, who's now being referred to as the modern-day Nostradamus. He's made all these predictions about the future, a lot of them very similar to the type of stuff we've heard of before when it comes to end-of-the-world conspiracies, alien contact coming soon, AI reaching a new level of awareness and taking over, more deadly natural disasters, a big war, soon we'll be able to communicate with the dead through artificial intelligence technology, you know, all your standard stuff. But what I find really genuinely interesting and kind of creepy about this whole thing is that I'm honestly not even sure if this Athos Salome guy is a real person. I've seen plenty of pictures of him, and I've read news articles quoting things he's apparently said. I've seen other people in videos quoting things he said. I'm one of them. We have a whole video on this guy on the channel. Check it out after this. But I haven't seen footage of him actually moving his mouth and talking on video. I've seen like one, but it's like a narrator over top of it, and it's like low quality. It could be AI generated. And I mean, just look at him. Doesn't he look like he could be an AI generated image to you? I mean, all these news articles say he makes TikTok videos, but I can't find them. So what the hell is actually going on here? Who is Athos Salome? Is there a real person behind all these predictions, or is this some kind of artificially created thing? And if so, who created it? Next up, we have a man who claimed to have traveled through time with Barack Obama, Andrew Basiago. Basiago claimed he was part of Project Pegasus, a secret US government initiative that he says took place during the 60s and 70s. This project focused on developing technology for teleportation and time travel. He said he was chosen as a participant when he was just a young tyke because of his father's connection to the project. The technologies he mentioned included the chronovisor and teleporters. A chronovisor is said to be a device that allows users to view events from the past and future, while teleporters are said to enable physical travel across time and space instantaneously. But he didn't just go forwards in time, no, he traveled back to 1863, where he witnessed the Gettysburg Address delivered by President Abe Lincoln himself. Basiago was very public with his claims. At one point, he even ran for president, with part of his platform promising to reveal the secrets of time travel and teleportation technology. I mean, how did he not win the presidency? Doesn't everyone want to know all of these secrets? It was a cheap tactic, but I guess in the end, it didn't work anyway. Finally, we have the one and only John Titor. This is probably the most well-known time-traveling claim in the history of the internet. Now, of course, the whole thing is very far-fetched, but what is interesting about these posts are how detailed they are. Whoever this John Titor really is or was, quite the imagination. Or he's a real time traveler, obviously. So it all began in November of 2000 when someone started posting on online forums claiming to be an American military time traveler from the year 2036. They later start using the name John Titor in future posts, and according to Titor, he was sent back to 1975 originally to retrieve an IBM 5100 computer in order to read older programming languages in the future. He claims this machine was needed to debug legacy computer programs that existed in his time. And on his way back to 2036, Titor claimed he made a stopover in the year 2000 for personal reasons, and during this time is when he decided to interact with people on internet message boards. He gave detailed explanations about how his time machine and how time travel worked in general. He included diagrams and descriptions of its operation based on theoretical physics concepts. Till this day, it's still a complete mystery as to who this guy was. Was it just some dude having some fun? Was it a social experiment of some kind? We'll probably never know. What I do know though is that his whole story was a bit more interesting than just like, oh, aliens invade in the future. Going back from an old IBM computer? I don't know. Creative. Anyway, I'll catch you guys in the next video.
Want to see more videos like this one? Check out this video next. Viewer discretion advised. It's about disturbing real-life demon photos that you won't believe are real, but have been confirmed by the Pope himself. Click the video now to find out more. See you guys in the next video.